Thank you. I think we have time for a couple questions. Anybody have?
Gentlemen.
Sure. Thank you for your comments. I'm writing a book on crowdfunding. What do you think about crowdfunding?
It's interesting. I was just talking to the founder of Kiva. I think it's one of the most exciting phenomenons that's going on right now. I mean, the multiplier impact of it, the ability to find experiences that move you and matter to you, and then to be engaged in it. And once you get into it, you don't leave. I mean, it's just because it makes life so easy in very interesting ways. And so whether or not you're moved by something like Kiva, which is to participate in activities around you, or whether or not you got a friend who's starting something really cool and you want to back them in Kickstarter, to me, the essence of these things, really, again, it's like not the technology and it's not the platform, though those things are very important. It is, for the first time in my life, I can write a check, and it could be $5, it could be $20, it could be $1,000, it doesn't matter. And I actually see if it works or not. Right? And I'm not, please, I'm not, I've sit on the boards of non-for-profits. I mean, you know, give money to the Red Cross. I'm not saying don't do that, but how much do you really know what happens to that? So all of a sudden, you guys are unleashing now an ability to see real impact, bad and good. And in the case of Kiva and the micro-lending part of it, the ability to see money come back, which you can then keep churning into another project. I mean, the returns are like 98%. Not IRR, but you get back 90% of your. How much money do you give away that makes good, and then you get 98% of it back so that you can invest it again in another project? I mean, it's a mind blow. Now, what I'm curious about, and I'd love to see when you do this in your book, I'd be curious what you find out. Does it lend itself to the angel investing world? I have trouble thinking why it might not, and why it wouldn't. The only thing I would say is if you're raising $500,000, it's a little bit different than raising $5,000, and people want due diligence, and there's a whole bunch of other things that go into an investment. But I don't know. I think it's fascinating. Yeah, please.
It does lend itself to angel investing. You have to have a different approach, a different mind. You know, that's the other thing you pointed out, which I thought was very good. This whole different mindset. You know, having kind of an open mind to it. What we're seeing is that the angels are coming in, and they are going to use something like put and call options, right? So you have a put option on a crowd-funded company, which allows you to get back the money.
Right.
If there's, it's a put that activates if there's fraud or if there's some other issue, right? Takes care of all of the issues with respect to concerns about fraud. The other thing that we're seeing is that there are things like credit default swaps, for lack of a better term, that will apply to crowd-funded companies. And you'll also have, real quickly, thanks, Tien, for
Sure, absolutely.
You'll also have two tiers of investors. You know, you'll have the angel guys, and one platform in Europe does this, Symbid. They have an angel tier and kind of a mom and pop tier.
Michael, you can be the first one in DC, man.
Yeah, it's an unproven. Wait, let's see how
Well, I've unleashed you. Okay, but you know, who knows? Maybe some version of it.
April Young with Hercules. Everybody knows April.
Good morning. So there's an old joke about the way to make a small fortune in Colorado real estate is to start out with a large fortune. So lots of people have lost a lot of money in China, in Latin America. From your, at least initial forays into the Middle East, obviously they're very different scenarios. Syria is not Dubai. Do you have thoughts about how to do this intelligently and not set yourself up for failure?
You know, in any of the emerging markets, you're introducing a level of risk that you have to build into whatever returns that you expect. And there are people who've been lost their money. There are people who've made a lot of money and can't get it out. I mean, there's a lot of different horizons that people look at here overall. I think the two, and forgive me because it'll be obvious to you, but I mean, the first thing is the ability of who you partner with and who's on the ground and what that connection with is almost anything. The idea, even though I travel there, that I'd start picking winners and losers investing, I would never even contemplate. And I'm hardly an expert, but I'm there more than the average Joe. And I've seen great people who I think are going to be successful, but I'd never write them an individual check because that's not what I do and everything else. I will tell you, though, and I think this is something that is helpful to Africa and the Middle East, is that we've had 20 years, think about this, we have 20 years of emerging market investment going on, and some of it's been unbridled disasters, and some of it's been unbelievably lucrative. But with all that learning about what works and what doesn't, how to manage political risk, how to work through the fact that, look, I mean, what was it, what a tragedy, but 3 or 4 years ago, there was that terrible terrorist attack in Mumbai. Investors are not leaving India. I mean, you know, you got to keep this kind of perspective, and having that perspective, I think, lends itself well to the other guys. Might happen much faster than they are before. But you got to know what you're getting into. You need to know what your risk association is, and it's about the people that you know on the ground, it seems to me.
So I can't help but ask, forgive me, were there any women in the room?
So this is I'm actually writing a series of articles about this, I think for Pando Daily or Business Insider, I can't tell. The most mind-blowing, exciting thing about the Middle East is that the ones who are kicking the most ass are the women. They are unbelievable. So I'll give you an example. MIT does this thing, which is the MIT global competition in the Middle East. They do this, and this is their 5th year. First year, they expected 250 entrepreneurs. They had 1,500. This year, they had almost 5,000 compete. Real serious. These are not people mailing in, really serious people. Of the folks that they lowered down, not only were 43, or I can't remember the number, 43, 46% women, but the one who won was a woman out of Lebanon. And so, you know, and it's across all sorts of cultures. There are women who are covered, and there are people who are devout, and they have pressures which are very real, and men, you know, women don't drive in Saudi, and yet at the same time, they're great e-commerce businesses women are creating in Saudi. Folks are working it around. They've got to wrestle the challenges. They've got to wrestle the day-to-day challenges that all people wrestle about family and everything else. So I'm not saying that it's nothing because it's something huge, but I was stunned at the tenacity and skill and the other aspects of it.
Great. I think we got time for one more, Chris.